I have not specifically spoken to the president about what nuclear materials may or may not have been in there. I do not believe there were any in there. The legal team had done a very thorough search and had turned over. We've been very cooperative with the Biden administration and the DOJ and turned over everything that we found that we had. So it's my understanding on very good belief based on a thorough investigation that there was nothing there.
The last thing before we go tonight, where are the lawyers? That right there was Trump's attorney, Christina Bobb. She's a former OAN TV presenter, a 2020 election denier, and is now on the front lines of Trump's legal war against the Department of Justice over the search at Mar-a-Lago. And as you might remember, Bobb is the lawyer who signed a letter certifying that all classified material had been returned to the Justice Department. Well, it turns out that was not true, which led our friend and MSNBC contributor, Melissa Murray, to tweet this: MAGA, making attorneys get attorneys. And all of this got Lee McGowan, a.k.a. Politics Girl, thinking about this. Watch.
Okay, let's work from the premise that Donald Trump is completely innocent. Let us begin from the starting point that Trump is a completely innocent billionaire who is an amazing president, a brilliant businessman, and is being unfairly targeted by an overzealous, corrupt Justice Department. Let's just say all of that is true, which I believe is what some people feel. If that is the case, then where are his lawyers? I don't mean the ex-OAN host supermodel he met at Mar-a-Lago or the ex-Bannon low-level defense lawyer he hired without meeting, both who are now in legal trouble themselves. I mean, where are the top-of-their-class Harvard Law School defense attorneys out of New York or Dallas or Miami or Los Angeles? I mean, this is a high-profile client, a Republican billionaire ex-president. Who wouldn't want to represent him? Especially if you're working from the premise that he is completely innocent and the subject of a gross overstep by the FBI, and there is endless proof that everything he's done is completely justified. Where is the crack legal team? Where are the firms charging thousands of dollars an hour? He should have the best legal minds in the country tripping over themselves to represent him. Where is the team put together from the Federalist Society lawyers? Leonard Leo and Donald Trump had a deal. They support him to become president, and they get to pick all of his justices, including the 3 Supreme Court picks. Being the frontrunner for the Republican nominee for president should give Trump first draft pick of any top-notch conservative lawyer he wants. So where are they? There was a period of time just after the 2020 election when he was represented by a great firm in New York, but they quit before they took his stolen election case to court. That's how we ended up with Jenna Ellis and Rudy Giuliani. No one else would do it. Why not? Who doesn't want to represent the President of the United States? Especially if there's tons of evidence proving his case. Careers are made on such high-profile wins. So where are the conservative Republican bulldog defense attorneys? Where is Trump's Johnny Cochran saying if it doesn't fit, you must acquit? People represent guilty murderers all the time for profit and high-profile wins. Which lawyer turns away a rich, innocent, high-profile client? It's a legitimate question. Because no matter what you hear on TV or Truth Social or Facebook or from Trump himself about planted evidence and a corrupt FBI or declassified information, ask yourself, then where are the lawyers? Because if everything Trump and his defenders have said is true, then there would be a line around the block to represent him, but no one is there. So next time you go to defend him, ask yourself why no one who would make money from doing the same thing will take the job. Because I think that tells you everything you need to know.
Politics Girl, with some food for thought to take us off the air tonight.